Hello, everybody, and welcome to my course. So, my course is entitled Doing Academic Research, and this is my biography. So, I'm Dr. Akila TABBI, and I'm a lecturer at the Department of English at Frères Mentor University Constantine I. So, I hold the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Education from Canterbury Christ Church University in the UK. My teaching and research interests include research methodology, literacy studies, and teaching English as a foreign language. So, this is a research methodology course that tackles the methodology of doing academic research. And just for the record, research can be defined as the notion of inquiry or investigation in a systematic manner. It refers to the investigation of an idea or a topic with the aim of answering questions related to this idea or topic. Okay, so this course is designed for second year undergraduate students of English, language, and literature. And for any student to be able to successfully understand this course, they should have an open mind to learn more about research and its ethics and a basic knowledge about what research means broadly. So, at the end of this course, second year undergraduate students of English will be able to explain what academic research means, describe research ethics, distinguish between qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods, judge whether a study is or is not ethical, and finally, design their own research projects. So, this course is divided into three modules or three chapters. So, chapter number 1 is about academic research. So, we're going to look at research approaches such as quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. We're also going to talk about research methods, and these include questionnaires, observation, interviews, and focus groups. Now, chapter 2 or module number 2 is about research ethics. So, we're going to talk about plagiarism, defining research ethics and plagiarism, and we're also going to tackle how to avoid plagiarism. And this could be done through paraphrasing, summarizing, and quoting. And module number 3 is about the citation of references. So we're going to talk about two conventions, and these are the American Psychological Association, or what is known as APA, and the Modern Language Association, and this is known by MLA. So let's do a very quick task together. So I need you to take a piece of paper and a pen and just think about the following questions. So, what comes to your mind when you hear or read the word research? Have you ever done any basic research before? What comes to your mind when you hear or read the word ethics? And do you feel ready to learn more about research and its ethics? So these are just, a few questions to think about before we start our course. Okay, so starting the course and just delving into module number 1, and that is about academic research. So the first module defines academic research and presents different research approaches, namely qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. It also elaborates on the plethora of research methods used in the aforementioned approaches, such as questionnaires, observation, interviews, and focus groups. Okay, so the objectives of this first chapter are identifying the right research approach for any research topic, practicing using various research methods such as questionnaires, interviews, observation, and focus groups, comparing different research approaches such as qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods, and generating your own research project. So we're going to look at all these terms in detail shortly. So research can have many definitions, and I think we have already talked about one at the very beginning of the course. But the notion of inquiry or investigation in a systematic manner is central to all of research meanings. So research refers to the investigation of an idea or a topic for a particular aim. In other words, research means looking for answers to questions related to a particular subject. So to see a few examples, so you can see investigating the relationship between watching movies in English and learning vocabulary. So this is one example of a research idea. Researching the number of people who practice sports every day. And finally, investigating the perceptions of a group of people towards reading novels. So these are all examples of research ideas. Every research should have a realistic aim, particularly a particular research question, so particular research questions and specific research procedures. So all these elements should be in line with the chosen research approach for the study, qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. And I'm going to explain in a second. So research involves using a set of tools to attain this purpose. These tools are referred to as research methods, such as questionnaires, interviews, focus groups, and so on. These methods are used to collect information and answer the questions the researcher sets at the beginning of the research. So, what I'm trying to say here is that if you choose to do qualitative research, for example, so your choice should be based on the nature of your research. So, if we take the example, one of these examples, so for example, if you decide to investigate the perceptions of a group of people towards reading novels, so here you're interested in learning more about their experiences. So, based on your interest in conducting this research, you have to choose a research approach. And in this case, and since you're interested in knowing more about their experiences and the details, their experiences, then automatically the most suitable research approach is qualitative. Because in qualitative research, researchers are usually interested in knowing about the details of experiences. So, therefore, you have to use a data collection tool that goes with your research approach and the nature of the research that you want to investigate. So, if you want to investigate people's perceptions about reading, for example, then you have to use qualitative research, and therefore you have to use interviews, for example, because in interviews we're not interested in numbers. Whereas if you decide to work on, the number of people who practice sports every day, then here you're clearly looking for numbers, and therefore you have to do a quantitative research and you have to use a questionnaire, for example, because you're interested in collecting numbers. So that's what I'm trying to say here. So the research approach you use depends on your research topic, and then the research tools depend on the research approach you use. Okay, so let's do a quick task now. So, based on the definition of research we've just seen, I need you to take a few minutes to think about some ideas that you would want to research. So, I have just given you 3 ideas of, research, and I want you to take a piece of paper and a pen and think to yourself what kind of research idea you might be interested in investigating, and I just want you to take a few notes about this. Okay, so moving on to research approaches. A research approach can be defined as the overall research strategy, including the researcher's assumptions, data collection tools, and data analysis and interpretation. So, the choice of the research approach, qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods, depends on the research problem being studied. So, this is what I was explaining. Every research needs to follow a specific research approach or a mixture of research approaches. So, okay, I'm going to explain it in a second. There are 3 main research approaches: qualitative, so you want to collect in-depth accounts. Quantitative, you want to collect numbers, or mixed methods. So methods is doing both. So you want to have in-depth accounts, and you want to have numbers as well. That is to say, research tends to be more qualitative than quantitative, more quantitative than qualitative, or a mixture of both. Thus, researchers need to decide which approach fits best their investigation, depending on the research problem they aim to solve. So, if your research interest is collecting people's experiences but also collecting numbers, then you would opt for a mixed methods approach. Okay, so these are the types of research approaches. So whenever we say research approach, we are referring to either qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. So quantitative, we're going to discuss them each one, now separately. Okay, so quantitative research is a research approach that aims at testing existing theories by studying the relationship between different variables. It focuses on numbers and uses statistical procedures. Examples of research problems that would call upon or necessitate a quantitative approach include investigating the relationship between watching movies in English and learning vocabulary, for example, or researching the number of people who practice sports every day. Thus, numerical data is a core component of this research approach. So, as we explained previously, numbers are very important in quantitative research. And, try to remember this just by looking at the term itself, quantitative. So, we care about the quantity, so it's numbers. And qualitative research is an approach that aims at exploring and gaining an understanding of a certain phenomenon. In other words, qualitative researchers are interested in uncovering details about people's experiences and the meaning they attribute to them. So, we're interested in studying people's experiences and what people think about their own experiences. For instance, instead of investigating how many people read fiction books, and this would be quantitative, we could try to understand the reasons behind which some people are interested in reading fiction. So we're interested in the why rather than the how much, or how many. Some of the most popular data collection tools in qualitative research are observation, interviews, focus groups, among others. And mixed methods research is an approach that aims at gathering both qualitative and quantitative data. So, this is usually used when the researcher believes that both approaches are needed to answer the research problem, and that using solely one approach, qualitative or quantitative, limits the findings. So, that's what we said previously. If you want to collect both in depth data about the people's experiences and numbers as well. So this is when you need to use mixed methods. Okay, so this is just a table summarizing what we've just discussed. So you can look at it at your own time later on. Okay, a quick task now. So I need you to go back to your notebook or the piece of paper you were writing on previously, and I want you to check the list of ideas that you would want to research. And I need you to decide which research approach would go with which research idea. So I asked you previously to write a number of ideas that you would want to research, and now I want you to go back to them and decide whether each idea requires a qualitative research, a quantitative, or a mixed methods research. Okay, now let's talk about research methods. So, research methods refer to the tools used by the researcher to collect the data needed to answer the research questions. So, there are many types of research methods, including questionnaires, observation, interviews, and focus groups. So, when we say research approach, we refer to qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods research. When we say research methods, then we are referring to questionnaires, observation, interviews, focus groups, and there are so many research methods, but we're just going to look at these ones. because they are the most commonly used in research. So, questionnaires provide quantitative data about attitudes among a population or the relationship between different variables. So, the focus is usually on a sample from the population that researchers aim to generalize afterwards. So, when we do a qualitative research, we are usually interested in numbers, and then we want to generalize the findings. So, for example, if I work on, say, I don't know, 100 people, for example, so the results will be generalized to a wider number of people or a wider population. Okay, observation is one of the research methods that are used in qualitative research when the researcher wants to see people firsthand in their own social contexts. What researchers observe depends on their research focus and what they want to unveil. And what they want to unveil, sorry. So, observation notes consist of rich descriptions of incidents, people, and the context within which the observation takes place. And I'm going to show you an example of, observation notes in a second. Interviews are one of the most commonly used tools in qualitative research because their focus is on obtaining in-depth information about a particular phenomenon. So Miriam and Tisdale, 2016, assert that interviews are utilized when people's feelings and interpretations of their worlds, in addition to past events, are of interest in a study. So, researchers usually prepare a list of potential questions that they want to ask. During the interview, however, they improvise and use prompts to incite the interviewees to elaborate on their points. And I'm going to show you an example of an interview plan as well. So, the idea is that researchers go with a plan. So, they go to interview people, and during the interview, they might get rid of some questions, add more questions, and modify their own. So it depends on the situation. So there is a lot of flexibility in that. And focus groups are also used in qualitative research. They refer to focused discussions around a topic of interest with the intention of evolving interaction and therefore eliciting information among a small number of people. So, the difference between focus groups and interviews is that an interview can be a one-to-one thing. So, you are interviewing one person only, while a focus group is usually so the researcher is interviewing a group of people. It's three people plus. Okay, so these are examples. So this is an example of a questionnaire, and this is an example of observation notes. So you can see that the researcher um, has provided like a drawing of the classroom he was observing. And this is to make the reader, just imagine what the researcher is seeing. And this is an example of an interview plan. So this is taken from my own doctorate thesis. Okay, a quick task. So I need you to read the following research topics and choose the most adequate research approach and research methods for each. So research approach, as we said, refers to qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods, and research methods refer to questionnaires, interviews, observation, or focus groups. So the first one is the relationship between teachers' positive feedback and students' motivation to speak in the classroom. The second one is the percentage of teachers who include role plays in the oral expression classroom. The third one is the perceptions of university students towards critical thinking. And the last one is the effectiveness of using free writing in motivating students to write um, and students' perceptions about it. Okay, here is another task. So, in your own words, I want you to mention some of the characteristics of qualitative research, quantitative research, and mixed methods research. And then I need you to compare the three research approaches and mention the differences and the commonalities between them. And the last task is I want you to choose a topic that you want to research and think about the most adequate research approach and research methods. So I need you to design your own research tools and collect some data. For example, if you choose interviews, I want you to design your interview plan. You can look at the example I have just provided and choose two people, for example, and interview them. And as a conclusion, research refers to an investigation that aims at answering a question or a set of questions. Every research follows a certain approach. That is, it could be qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. This entails using one or several research tools to collect information that will help answer the research questions, such as observation interviews, focus groups, questionnaires, among others. Okay, and at the end, feel free to contact me if you have further questions at this email address. Thank you so much for your attendance, and please feel free to contact me if you have any questions.